Welcome back, friends. This is Bree and we are outside today. It is finally nice and sunny. This morning we woke up and it was just stormy and rainy and the clouds disappeared and now we have bright sunshine. So I thought it'd be a great day to get outside and give you guys our May garden tour. So it was fun to do this last month in April. We did a garden tour and the garden has just exploded since we got out here and did that. So I want to show you guys everything that's happening in the garden, some of the successes and some of the failures, and just get right into it. If you want to stick along for the end of this video, I'm going to answer a few of our Q&A questions. I have a few questions that people have been asking. I know it's been confusing. We've had a lot going on. We've recently made a move into a different property and we have more things going on in the future. So stick around for the end of the video and I'll answer a few questions if you're interested. But let's get on into the garden and check out what's happening this May. Do you hear the goats? Because it was storming, we just tossed them some hay. We didn't give them any grain this morning. So I think I need to go feed them some grain first and then get back to the garden. The power company came the other day and chopped down a whole bunch of tree branches that were going through a line that goes through our goat area. So the goats had a bunch of branches to snack on, but I didn't want the power company coming back in. So I was in the goat area. So I threw all the branches out on the edges of their goat pen. So that's why we have massive piles of branches around our goat pen. Okay, back to the garden. We're still using the electric netting, poultry netting around the garden, and it's been doing really well, keeping all the little rabbits and squirrels away. It is not keeping birds away, so we've attempted to put a net, like some chicken wire, over our strawberries, but the birds are still getting through it and getting to our strawberries, so that has not been a very good success rate once the birds found out that there's strawberries there. But I mean, it's okay. We only have a few pots and I'm not too worried about it. You know, if we were staying here long term, I'd figure out something to have like an actual bird netting covered areas, but we're not. So that is fine. All right, guys, so we still have our ginormous pile. Actually, I'm not sure if I talked about that yet. So with the wood chips, it was really cool. The power company was doing some tree cutting, limbs cutting down by the road. And Scott was able to flag them down and tell them, hey, if you need a place to drop those wood chips, we'd gladly use them. So they did. They dropped them right at our garden area, which is super helpful. And we've been using them all over the property in just muddy areas, like underneath the swings and in the goat pen area. It's been so helpful. And I'm excited to use them throughout the garden in more areas soon. All right, back to the potatoes. As I was starting to say, the potatoes are starting to flower and they're looking really good still. Something is starting to eat some of them, but I'm not too worried about it. Pretty soon I feel like it's going to be time to start digging up some potatoes. Maybe. I also have these grow bags with a couple potatoes in there. And they're not grown as big and tall, but they are still growing. The next bed over we have our carrots, which are looking amazing. I thinned these guys out a while back, and then there's some little bit more mature ones here, and then the ones I thinned out I put in this area back here, and they're not doing too hot, so maybe thinning out and replanting is not like the best. These guys are thriving, those ones not so much. The lettuce is starting to go to seed, at least the butter crunch lettuce is starting to go to seed, and we have some kale hanging on. We've been hot here, guys. It's been like 90 degrees, lots of days. This romaine lettuce is still doing okay. Still holding in there. We've been using it a lot. There's a couple onions I just put in the corners of beds, so if you see some random onions, that's what it's from. Next, in between these two beds is this soil I brought in from the property. I have not put anything in there yet. I'm thinking I'm going to be putting some peppers in there. So that's just kind of left blank. Moving over to some of these pots, I have planted some basil. It's kind of thick in here, so I might try to thin that out a little bit. So I planted basil there, and that's coming up good. Then some beans in the next one. And they are actually starting to grow. Let's see if we can see that. Look at there. Wow. And then the onions are rocking over here in this bed next to this bed next, with some flowers and a pot down at the bottom that are doing pretty good too. Everything's just doing really well. We've had lots of rain and heat. Here's some more onions. I think those are a mix. I think I have some green onions in here and then some like actual onions. So the next bed is kind of empty. This is one of my fails, guys. This is was broccoli and it did not grow. So or it did grow, but then it just didn't do much after that. So what I did instead is I planted some seeds here of peppers, since my peppers in the pots are not working very well this year. So these are Ozark Giants. Whoops, fire ants. Hate fire ants, guys. It's like a constant battle with these guys. So I've got some peppers in here, Ozark Giants, and I think I might have planted, what else did I plant? Nope, I think they're just Ozark Giants in here. Then down here at the end of the bed we have some peas, snap peas, and these have been growing and we've been eating and snacking on them. Been so good. Look at that. That is a good one right there. So I know with this heat, pretty soon these pretty soon these peas are gonna turn some bitter. So I'm trying to enjoy them as much as we can, because it's just a matter of time before they're not good. Back over here, I have some flower. I put these flower pots on this cardboard because I'm trying to keep the cardboard from blowing away. I'm gonna put some of those wood chips on the cardboard here. I just haven't got to it. And in this little bed is the one I did in ground here, and it just has flowers. You can see some sunflowers are popping up, and there's cosmos there in the back. I have zinnias planted all throughout. They are not germinating too well. Most of them are older seeds, or they are ones I seed saved. So I don't know if it's a combination of that. Here's a zinnia. Of that, or if it's just the soil quality here is not great. Some flowers I don't have problems growing in bad soil. They seem to just grow wherever. But even them are kind of patchy. I planted a lot of those, but look at this guy. So pretty. I cannot wait till we have some sunflower blooms here. And we got some pretty cosmos. Alright, moving on from the pea bed here at Peas and Peppers. We have some echinacea that is starting to get a little flower head here. That is exciting. Look at there, we got a little spider. The garden is the only place that I like spiders. Anywhere else, if there's a spider, it needs to be a dead spider. But out here in the garden, it can stay because it eats the bad bugs. So echinacea doing okay. And our blueberry plant is doing okay. It's got blueberries. Actually, I think something's eating the blueberries. Look at there, guys. Something has been, oh, it's probably the birds. Those darn birds. There used to be berries all up here on the top. Oh my goodness. Oh boy. So maybe we won't get blueberries this year. Darn. But that bush does need trim back down. I'm going to trim it lower so it will encourage the growth to be lower. Next bed, we are seeing some positive growth here. This was one of my fails this year, squash. I transplanted them from my growing jugs, winter sowing jugs, and they did not like that. So they just kind of did nothing. So I pulled them up and put some seeds in the ground of some more plants. So I'm gonna come through here and probably pull out one of these so the other plants have space to grow. But yeah, I'm gonna try vertical growing this year. So we're gonna see how that goes. I've heard it helps with pests. I sure hope so. And then this is just a, what is this? A butternut squash, I think, plant. I believe so. I could be wrong. But I stuck it in here in the corner, not knowing if it would grow or not, but it is taking off. So I'm probably gonna have to train that and see about getting a trellis or something for that guy. And then on the other half of this bed, we have beans. So excited. Look at all those flowers. Let's go see if we can find some beans. There's some little tiny beans there, guys. See these? Itty bitty little things. And just lots of flowers. So we will be having a good harvest from over here. Everything looks pretty good. Little starts of beans. In between this squash and bean bed, I have my strawberries. As you can see, is kind of not, I mean, I kind of threw something over it to try to prevent the birds from getting in here, but this is a wide, I think it's like a 2-inch chicken wire, which birds can totally fit through that. So, yeah, it was just a detour of them, but it doesn't work. So we haven't been getting much strawberries, but what we did get was very sweet and yummy this year. The plants themselves are doing okay. My tomato plants, so they are rocking now. For a while, they just were doing hardly anything. This one right here is probably 2 foot tall. Pretty awesome how much it shot up. So cool. I've been picking off the flowers to encourage upgrowth instead of putting into fruit. I do see that there's some flowers here. I might leave those because it's gotten about a little taller now. But you see this space over here, I'm going to be putting some of the cuttings I cut from these plants over there. I cut off some tomato plants, there's some like branches, and I put them in water, and look at this. Did you know that? Did you know you could propagate tomato plants and make more tomato plants? Super cool. So I did a little experiment, and I knew that you could do it this way with water, and it works really well. Like, look at that. These guys are ready for the soil. So I knew I could do it this way, but I also wanted to try, let's come over here, try just sticking it immediately in soil. So let me see if I can get this to focus. So I wanted to try immediately sticking it in soil and seeing if it would take that way as well. And as you can see, it did. It took. Now they haven't grown much, but they kind of just stay the same, but they did not die. I did keep the soil moist to help with the roots having something to like grow and get established. Coming over to the covered part of the deck, I have some trays of plants here, and I have my peppers that I started by seed. You can tell that they did not grow well. I do not know what's up with that. They were started in the same soil as everything else. For some reason it was a flop this year. But that's okay, some years you have that. I'm okay with going to the grocery store and buying pepper plants if I need to. Well, the grocery store, like the plant nursery store. But I'm okay with doing that if needed. So the majority of the other stuff I've started by seed. If only a few things I have to buy, that's totally okay with me. But one thing I wanted to show you guys was my Azure standard order. I added some plants, some potted plants. So cool, I did not know they did that. So really neat that they have plants that you can order from there. I got 2 comfrey plants and 1 mullein. So really happy about being able to get some of these plants that I haven't seen locally, and I haven't started by seed myself. But I did get a dahlia. This one's doing really well. One thing I was really impressed with the quality of the plants when they arrived. They were doing great. Now, but I accidentally left them in the sun all day one day when we were gone. So they got a little bit burnt, like the leaves got a little burnt. That is not Azure Standards fault. That's my fault. So I thought I killed them, and I was really disappointed, but they didn't. They didn't die. They bounced back. So very thankful I was able to salvage those. The next tray I have over here is from our house that we are selling. So I had a lot of volunteer plants growing in the chicken run and in my raised beds, so I just went over there and up potted a whole bunch of, put them in pots and brought them over. I do plan to go plant them in the garden, just not today. The sun is a little harsh today. I keep thinking I'm going to do it in the evening, but then I don't get out here in the evening to do it. So that's what happens when it gets hot. You don't want to plant anything in the heat of the day. But these will get out there eventually. They have grown since I brought them back. These guys were like a third of the size. These are, I think this one is a spoon tomato plant, volunteer plant. And I believe this one is either a spoon tomato plant or a cherry tomato plant. And then I think this one might be a beefsteak. Not sure. We'll have to see. It'll be like a surprise once they start growing tomatoes. But there's some others like basil and some cosmos and stuff like that that I brought over from the other place. Okay, I'm back. New battery. Kid is weed eating, so hopefully you can still hear me over his weed eating. Well, I've got my notes here with my questions that have been pretty consistent questions that everybody has been, not everybody, but some people have asked across different social medias. So probably the top question has been, why did you move? So we have just put pockets of information in throughout our videos. We took a little break from making videos and then we came back, and then all of a sudden we moved. And so I can understand where that has confused a lot of people, because it happened kind of quick for us too. Although we had been planning to move, we just didn't know when. So our main goal with that last house was to get into somewhere that we could start having gardens and animals and start doing the homestead thing. But we also couldn't afford the land and the home and everything that, you know, goes with that. So this was right after 2020, so it's 2021, when we felt like the strong desire to get some more self-sustaining, get us to gardens and animals, and just get in the country, you know, get away from the hustle and bustle. And so we found a home that needed a lot of work, and going into it was just an utter nightmare. It was very scary. I remember sitting in the driveway at the house during the house inspection and sitting there with the kids in the van, and the home inspection went on for like 3.5 hours, and every time the inspector found something, he's like, okay, this is a big problem, this is a big problem. And then we go, okay, if this is it, if this is all the problems, we'll be good, we can fix that. And then he kept coming back, like, this is a big problem, this is a big problem. And there all these problems with this house like stacked up, but nothing was like super scary. It was just a lot of work. It was a bigger house, a lot of work. So we kept walking out onto the deck and looking out at this amazing, you know, rolling hills and this like beautiful neighborhood. Everybody has like 3 to 10 acres in that neighborhood, and it was just gorgeous, and it was quiet. We were used to like suburban tiny backyards, barking dogs, cars, and we just felt a little piece of like calm out there. Then we would walk back into the house and be like, oh my gosh, this house needs so much work. But it was what we could afford. So long story short, we got this house that we could afford, that needed a lot of work, with the ultimate goal was fix it up, live there for 3 to 5 years, we would see. And while we were fixing it up, we got to live our homestead dream, we got to learn, and then we would make money off the house and move on to something bigger and better. Okay, so 2.5 years or 2 years go by. We've been fixing this house on and off as money allows, and we get to the point last summer where we're like, you know what, we gotta get out of here sooner than we anticipated. Some different things were going on, and we just realized we need to make a move. And in that, we decided to go ahead and get everything fixed up with the house that we could possibly do, and go ahead and sell it. So that's what we're doing right now. We are moving because we are getting out of our flip house, our investment house, and with the process of that, we had to sell our chickens. So that was the other question was, where did the chickens go? We had to sell our chickens because our next step looked like an in-between location, which for us, we couldn't just rent any home or stay at anybody's house, because we have goats and we've invested a lot into our goats. They're registered, they have good milk lines. I did not want to sell them just so we could get into our next property. So we found, it was the grace of God, guys, the day we decided maybe we should rent. We got online, started looking for rentals, and this rent house popped up, and Scott called up the landlord and the number, and we started talking to them, and it was the landlord, and asked him, okay, you have 2 acres. Is there restrictions? He said no. He said that we could have our goats there as long as he got to like meet them, and that he knew we would be responsible with the property. So we found this rent house the very day that we just decided, maybe God, maybe you want us to get into an in-between spot before we jump into a home, because it was looking so daunting every time we'd find a home that we thought we could put an offer on, the house was like under contract just like that. Nobody was taking any contingent offers, like if we still had our house and it was contingent on our home selling. That wasn't a thing at the moment. So we decided to get into a rent house. The rent house did not allow us to have chickens. They said yes to goats, no to chickens. He had a bad experience beforehand, and that was fine with us. I thought moving chickens once or twice, and it would probably end up being twice in like a year time, would be a lot, and I didn't want to have to do temporary housing for chickens. So we were like, that's cool, we'll sell the chickens. So it has been sad. We sold the chickens, and they are living with another family and providing eggs for them, but we will be getting chickens again once we get to the next property. Not here, the next property we will get chickens, and we're planning to get ducks, and I really want to get a livestock guardian dog, probably a mix, Pyrenees and Anatolian mix. So I've heard those are really good dogs for livestock guardian, good with goats and chickens, and also good around all over the homestead. So I am really excited for that next step. We just have to sit in this middle ground for a little bit longer. With that said, we did accept an offer on our house, and we are in the process of going through all the steps. If you've ever sold a home, all the many steps it takes to sell a home. Next question is, why do we raise Nigerian dwarf goats? So I think that might be just specific to breed they're asking, and maybe not just goats in general, because there's a lot of reasons why you can raise goats. But why we raise Nigerian dwarf goats is for milk. So we wanted a smaller breed that would be good around kids and that we could also milk. So I really have like this dream of using their milk to make goat milk soap on a regular basis, and lotions. I've always loved goat milk soap and lotions since I was a kid, and I've always had sensitive skin. So to me, that was like awesome. Plus, you could drink it. I know not everybody likes to drink goat milk, but and Nigerian dwarfs do not give very much milk for that. But if you had enough of them, you could drink it. You would have enough to drink. But yes, that's why. It's for the milk. So we can do all the things with the milk. There's other benefits, of course, to goats, like they help clear your land, and they're fun. I've always loved goats, so that is mainly it for their milk. All right, last question. This will be kind of quick because I could talk a long time on this topic. However, I will save that for a full video because I feel like I could make a whole video of this. But the question is, do you have a schedule or follow a routine to get everything done? And the answer is yes. We have a schedule and routine, of course. However, I am not a good person that likes to go by hour by hour routine. Like at 9 o'clock we have to be doing this. No, I like the flexibility that we take it as it goes, but we do like in the morning we get this done, in the afternoon we get this done. Now we are flexible. I will, judge the day. Like if it's beautiful outside in the morning, but it's gonna get hot in the afternoon, we'll flop our schedule around, and we'll do our get outside and do outside things in the morning, and then do more like book work in the afternoon when it's hot. So we're flexible with it. I have a planner, so I love paper planners. I do put a lot on my phone. However, paper is better for me. I like to see it all out, and I like to have it all laid out so I can see what I need to do for everything in my day. Since I have many hats, working with being a mom, having the house to take care of, homeschooling, homestead things, gardening, and then social media. Now that we're adding this to more consistently, it is a lot, and I definitely need a scheduler. So I will make another video that has the scheduler that I use, how I lay it out, and how that helps keep me on track and keeps everything getting done. Because if it was just left up to me in my head, I would definitely forget something, because I can't remember it all for sure. But that's how I get it all done. I write it down. If I don't write it down, I will forget. Can you see the goats here? They've been screaming at me because I've been sitting next to them and not paying attention to them. What's up, girls? Bonnie. Hopefully that's helped answer some of your guys' questions, and if you ever have any more, drop them in the comments, and we'd love to answer them throughout our videos. And I am thrilled to show you our garden this summer each month and do our monthly updates. It's going to be lots of fun. I just know that when it's middle of the summer, everything is just huge and vibrant and growing so quickly. It's fun to look back at the spring videos and pictures and see how everything has grown so quick. What are you doing? I think Fawn wants out. Thanks for joining us, guys, and if you enjoyed this video, give us a like and subscribe to see our coming videos. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.